a real tricky thing. It's like, what does the musician who just wants to write and record music and put it out and play shows do when not doing all these other things that you don't know how to do and aren't good at are the things that can get you to the next place to get people to hear your music, you know?
All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the show. Pull up a seat, toss in your headphones, grab the most yellow thing near you. This is the What You Don't Hear podcast. It's a life podcast, it's a story podcast, it's a bit of an open journal dive into people's lives as I sit and I uncover the real story behind my guest's journey, finding out what makes them who they are and digging into the parts of their story that we otherwise wouldn't get to hear. I am your host. My name is Ross Tyson. I'm a creative of many kinds. I like to dabble as a filmmaker and a director, but really when it comes down to it, I just love to tell stories in any and every form. And of course, as you can tell in this form, I'm a podcaster as I bring you these conversations every other Monday and lots of Fridays for those 15-minute episodes. Really, I just love to talk to people about all the things. And of course, I've got another one of those great conversations for you this week and another wonderful story talking about lots of those things. But I'll tell you about that in just a second because I have some very lovely and awesome sponsors to tell you about first. Because somehow there's some very kind people who believe in this show enough to be a part of it, to partner with it, to sponsor it. And honestly, that's still so cool to me to be able to say and a bit mind-blowing. So let me tell you about them. And also, you know what's cool? There's a brand new sponsor that I get to share with you this week. But first, I will say this episode is sponsored in part by PromoWest Productions. You know how it goes at this point. And I'd also say that, well, if you're checking out this episode, there's a decent chance you might be a fan of music. So if you happen to want to catch a live show, you can maybe check out one of these that are happening at Newport Music Hall, brought to you by PromoWest. They've got Break-Ins on December 22nd. G-Love on January 22nd, Betty Who on March 19th, and Snarky Puppy on Friday, April 21st. That's right, folks. We're talking about shows going down in 2023 already. So if you want to grab tickets to any of these, you can jump to axs.com, or as always, for more information on these or any other upcoming concerts, you can find all the info your music-loving heart desires right over at promowestlive.com. Now up next, they've also been with us for a few months now. We're staying crafty around here because this episode is also brought to you in part by Makers Social. It's a place that's located right here in the Franklinton Arts District where I happen to make this podcast. I make it right over at 400 West Rich, so Makers is legitimately right across the street. And it's owned and operated by a friend of the show and past guest, Megan Pando. Side note, you can check out her story anytime in the archives back in episode 46. So, Makers, what is it? Well, Makers Social, it's a DIY project bar where you can get your hands messy with some fun projects like, things like woodworking, leatherworking, jewelry making, and even painting. You can book and go anytime with a group of friends, but they also host private group events such as team building, corporate events, and even birthdays. Now, what's more interesting maybe is, well, you can drink while you do these things if you want, because they also have a full bar loaded with cocktails, local beers, and a very rare bourbon list for any of you crafty bourbon collectors out there. So, what's more fun than getting your craft on with some friends while maybe getting your drink on as well for a night out? So if this does sound interesting, you can check it out, because right now you can jump to their website, you can make a reservation, and if you do, you can use the code WYDH, add it to the notes section of your checkout when you make the reservation, and you can get $10 off your project's booking. So head over to makerscolumbus.com, grab some friends, and go check it out. Okay, so I also said that there is a fun new sponsor for this week's episode, and we're really getting into the music theme this week with our guest and our new sponsorship here. So, musicians, producers, music-related listeners of any kind, this next part is for you. So, way back on episode 11, I had my friend and audio engineer Nick Ingram of Capitol House Studios on. Do you remember that? Well, even if you don't, I'm here to tell you about some rad things that he's up to now. So since then, he's launched Ingram Audio, and now it's a sponsor of this episode, and they want you to spend less time mixing your music and more time simply creating it. Because Ingram Audio's goal is to create unique, user-friendly plugins for musicians and creatives of any skill level. Yeah, you heard it right. Any skill level. It doesn't matter whether you're a professional or a hobbyist just trying to write your next jam and make something happen. Ingram Audio creates products to make the creative process run smoothly so that writing can just be more fun and less stressful. From drum libraries to mix templates and MIDI loop packs, Ingram Audio has got you covered. Like their current product, Drum Daddy. Oh yeah, you heard that right. That's a fully loaded virtual drum kit packed with ready-to-use samples for any and all genres and an easy-to-use interface. But also, guess what? They've got a brand new product dropping, and honestly, to make this just sound even more exciting and a lot cooler, I'm just going to say that you're hearing about it here first. Even though I'm not real sure about that. I'm sure they've probably announced it publicly by now, but sounds way cooler if I tell you this is the first time you're hearing about it. So either way, they're dropping their next product, the Producer Kit. Now, the Producer Kit is an all-new drum library that's mix ready for you right out the box. It's got samples that have been mixed to perfection, allowing you to just dive right in and get to work. Hop in, choose a mix preset, and you're good to go. It's for real that easy. So the Producer Kit will be available starting Black Friday 2022 over at ingramaudio.co. So if you want more info in general, if you want to check out all the stuff that I just talked about, if you want to find out more for yourself and not just hear it from me, a non-music producer, if you don't want to hear just me tell you about it, hop over to ingramaudio.co for all the info and purchase options that you could need. And while you're there, be sure to download the free one-shot kit. Again, that's all over at ingramaudio.co. Yes, that is not an audible typo. There is no M at the end, ingramaudio.co. And hey, shouts to them for sponsoring this episode. So there we go. Lots of cool sponsorships and partnerships with this one. Let's get to the conversation. Like I noted earlier, we've got a bit of a music theme this week as I sit down with my guest, Colin Rigsby. But many of you might know him a little bit better as Vesperteen, the identity that he's been making music under for many years now. So as you can probably guess, we uncover all of that. We dig into all of that, how he got started on his music journey, all of his experiences within it. We chat a bit about a deal that he signed with a label a couple years ago and how that really went, what he's learned through all of this, as well as his current relationship with music, and trying to kind of discover what he wants out of it now and trying to figure out what his new path in music might look like. Even within that, we cover burnout, writer's block. We even get to touch on a bunch of cool sci-fi talk about what the future holds for human beings, and we talk about VR worlds and all this sort of stuff. But we also chat a good bit as well about his love for tattooing and how that's kind of his main creative outlet now. So we cover a lot in this episode. There's lots more than just music talk in this one. So let's get to it. Let's dive in. This is episode 72 of What You Don't Hear with Colin Rigsby. Colin, welcome to the show, my friend.
Hey, thank you for having me.
I'm stoked that we're actually getting to sit down after sort of knowing each other for a handful of years.
I know. I feel like we kind of talked about doing photos or something together several years ago.
Yeah.
And then it was kismet to meet at the Beartooth show.
I know, right? Yeah.
A couple months back.
And then Jesse was like, hey, do you know this person? I'm like, you know what? I think I actually do.
It's funny, that show, sort of that scene, that crowd is just full of people that I kind of know just adjacently, like that.
Yeah.
Where it's like,
yep,
sort of friend of a friend. I've seen you 100 times at 100 different places. Don't really know you, but we kind of know of each other.
Exactly.
That's a fun thing about Columbus, though. I like it.
I feel like definitely like shows like that and friends groups like that's always the case. And that, like, literally even that night, like, it was like, oh, hey, there's this person. We sort of know each other, right? Hey, cool, we're officially meeting, and now we're becoming friends. Amazing, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But of course, what I tend to do whenever I finally meet somebody is I'm like, hey, let's actually get to know each other on a podcast. And here we are. So I appreciate you being down for this.
Oh, yeah.
Even though
it's our first real hang.
Yeah, we haven't actually hung out in real life, but this is pretty much how anybody hangs out with me now. Is I'm like, hey, do you want to hang out? But we record it.
Yeah.
Do you want to get to know each other?
It's a good
but
way to do it.
Share it with everybody else.
I think it's great. You get all the stuff, all the get to know you stuff.
Well, that's
there.
That's the thing is, like, for me, my get to know you conversations, I'm always like, let's take the deep dive into everything. You know what I mean? So it's like a natural fit of like, hey, this is what this podcast is about.
Yeah.
Do you want to come on and just share all the things that we'd probably be talking about anyway if we had the time in a coffee shop or wherever?
Yeah.
Let's make something out of it. So
That's
why not?
happened. We've thought so many times and are seriously considering it. I can't remember if I told you at that show when we chatted a bit, but since I started tattooing just 2 years ago, the conversations often get very cool, fun, deep, like, and so we're just like, we should be podcasting this. So my wife, we're kind of sort of trying to scheme of how it's mostly an audio issue now, where we're like, how can I be tattooing and people be talking,
Right,
we
yeah.
can't have music on while I tattoo and the noise of the machine, but I think it'd be cool. I think it could work. We'll figure it out.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because like that's something I have always wondered. Is I'm like, is there a tattoo artist out there somewhere that has a podcast? Because you're 100% accurate and like, yeah, those conversations. I mean, you're stuck with somebody for at minimum an hour. I don't know. And
it's like similar like a hairdresser. But like even
Yeah.
longer, I guess, because it's always, like an hour,
Right,
about.
right.
And so, yeah, it'll be fun. We'll see.
I
If it
think.
happens.
Well,
It won't be about tattooing at all. It'll
Oh
just
no,
be
of course.
like,
Yeah.
that's just happens to be the environment.
Yeah, and I think that'd be such an interesting take on conversation too, because it's like the person who you're talking to is also sort of in pain. So it's like,
Yeah,
all right,
I
what's
know.
going to be the flow of the conversation?
Yeah, there's
with
some other
that?
elements like that where we're like,
But that would make it, to me, that sounds way more interesting though.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, how would someone
well,
talk?
it could also
like
be about the piece they're getting if it is interesting, 'cause
Yeah.
sometimes it's just whatever, but it could just be like, why are you here? Why did you want to get, and
Right,
then
right.
really dig into, I mean, that's how I do it anyway. That's how the conversations always go is I'm just like, tell me about your, what does this represent or whatever. And then, we just get into it. And it's great.
Exactly.
I love
Yeah.
it.
Well, I tell you what, you've got one subscriber already.
All right, cool.
You've got one subscriber,
You can
one
be the
listener.
first guest.
And we have been talking about
Yeah.
doing a tattoo at some point too. So I'll be
do it.
first subscriber and listener and first guest. We'll just make everything happen
it.
all at once.
Nice.
So let's dive into everything because you just started tattooing a couple years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I obviously know you as Vesperteen with music career and all that sort of stuff. But I don't even know if I know, like, what all do you do? Is it music and tattooing now? Is there like a mixture of a billion things? Like, because again, we sort of know each other and sort of talked about doing photos one time. Other than that, I don't really take a deep dive into anybody before I have them on the show. So I'm like, all right, I know these things, but what more is there, if anything?
Yeah, that's funny you said that. Just the other night I was like, well, I think I had smoked a little weed. I was like, how do people perceive me? Like when people like look me up, like how am I coming across? And like I'm not very self-conscious or insecure or anything like that. But in that moment I was just like, what do people, when they see it, like, are they like, what is this guy? Is he's doing this stuff? And so I've been thinking about that. So I've played music. I've done music and like art, visual art for pretty much my whole life. I mean, from like grade school. Got into music, I guess, through my parents were both musicians. My mom was a vocalist and could play piano and guitar. My dad played drums, and they ended up playing in like a couple like cover bands around town and stuff like that when I was growing up. And, my dad always had a drum kit there, so I learned drums early on and was always singing and dancing. And as far as music goes, we grew up very Christian, and so there was a limit to what we listened to. There was a lot of DC talk and the like, but there was also some Beatles and stuff like that, the safe, secular stuff.
Okay.
And then art as well, just I think I got into drawing through like Ninja Turtles or like Looney Tunes and just drawing cartoon stuff, and loved it. Always loved it. Both of my grandfathers were amazing artists, painters, illustrators, and so yeah, it was very much in me. I loved both things, and they both kind of grew early on through middle school. Middle school I got like into skateboarding and stuff too, and so it was just I got into punk rock and pop punk and that kind of stuff. Started a band with my brother in middle school and a friend of ours, and I mean we played all the time, every day. My poor gracious parents just, we set up in our bedroom. My brother and I shared a big bedroom together, and he played guitar and I played drums, and we had a friend play bass. And so literally all through middle school, just 3 years of probably just several times a week, just jamming, playing Green Day Dookie front to back over and over. And Nirvana, whatever we were into at the time, and all the while drawing and painting things, and started to get into like graphic arts in high school, which I was in high school around late 90s, and so it wasn't really Adobe per se in the way that it is now, and I don't even remember what programs we're using, but I had a really cool graphic arts teacher who just really nurtured me. I was a shitty student. I just didn't care or like anything to do with school other than my art classes, and because I was already like, by high school I was like, I have a band, like we play shows, like, so I just did not care about school. Just seemed like such a waste.
Right.
But I loved the art classes, and I just thrived in those, and had awesome teachers all the way through to really help me out. And so at the end of high school, there was kind of a crossroads of, hey, I had like some art school scholarship opportunities that I could have taken, but again, hated school, and I was like, I don't want 4 more years of just like doing shit I don't want to do, and I love art, but my band's going on tour. I'm doing that. And so 18, as soon as I graduated, we went on our first tour ever. I played with my brother all through middle school, and then in high school I met some other guys from Hilliard. I grew up in Dublin and met these guys, and we started our own band. I think I was 15, and started just playing as much as we could, playing everything from prom after parties to youth group block-ins to Old Fields on High, and anywhere that we could play, we would go play, and state fairs, whatever, and just to get the experience. And so that was awesome. And then that band was called No Tagbacks. Very silly pop punk kind of stuff.
Love it.
Late 90s, and we eventually changed our name to House of Heroes in like 2002. Right after high school, we went on our first tour ever, and it was a disaster, but it was, an adventure, wonderful and fun. And all the while I was still doing, because of the band, I was doing all the merchandise design and the album art and, promotional flyers. We were handing out flyers back then, and all that kind of stuff. So I still got to use like my, art skills and stuff to, in this music world. And that sort of continued on, where I started doing more and more design for my band, and then bands we toured with, and then I would do their stuff. And so I ended up doing band merch for many, many years. I'll still do, I still have like people that send me stuff every once in a while, and I'll still do some of those. And yeah, so that's sort of the early era of like how I got into both things, I guess.
Yeah. Okay.
And then tattooing, I was into it obviously just from being into, music world and skateboarding and stuff like that. Just got very interested in tattoo art and knew I wanted to get tattooed. Parents made me wait till I was 18, which was a good call. And, at 18, I just walked into OSU campus shop, which has now evolved. It was called Viking at the time. It was the only one I knew in town. I just walked in and fortunately met a really great gal in there that tattooed me, and I just kept coming back to her, and then ended up following her to a shop she opened with her boyfriend. And so I was always just there getting tattooed, and I expressed interest in tattooing, and she was like, well, I'll apprentice you. And this was around 2003, 4, somewhere around there. So I apprenticed for a year, like very traditional, proper apprenticeship, did all the things, but never really got to tattoo anybody. It was just every other piece of doing it up until that. And then right when it was time, I finished the apprenticeship, and I was like, all right, now you can like come work at the shop and tattoo people. But again, my band was going on tour. Like we just had all these tours kind of come right at that time, just like the whole year. It was like, cool, we're booked for the year. I was like, damn it, that's inconvenient. So in hindsight, I probably could have managed to try to do both things, but like, I don't know, pre-children, I have 3 kids, and before we had them, it just felt like, I don't have time to do anything. And now I'm like, I had so much time. I didn't know.
There was so much time, yeah.
And so, Anyway, so just kind of made another decision, like, all right, well, tattooing, it'll always be there. These tours are here right now. I'm just going to do these, see what happens. And then just proceeded to tour for like 15 years. And then got back into tattooing very, let's see, probably in 2019, a friend of mine in Nashville was in town with a band he was working with, and he was like, hey, I bought tattoo gear, on Amazon or whatever. I'm just trying to teach myself. Can I practice on you? So he's practicing on me, and then found out I apprentice. He's like, dude, you should do this. Like, it's really easy to get into. Just buy some cheap stuff and figure it out. And I was like, all right, sure, maybe. And then, maybe 6-8 months later, pandemic, summer 2020, it's just no shows, no anything. I was just bored. And so I was like, yeah, maybe I'll buy this stuff and just see how it feels. And just started messing around on myself. And right away I was like, oh, this is so fun. I got to do this. And then it just snowballed real quick, and that's about that.
And so now are you still finding a balance with both, like, hey, yeah, still like doing music when it's popping up? Like, obviously, I'm sure you're not actively like touring all the time and all that sort of stuff necessarily, but like, is there a balance to it now? Or are you like, hey, you know what, like, music is a secondary thing, and there's tattooing, and then of course I'm sure family is the first focus.
That's Ross, that's the thick of it, buddy.
Okay.
I hit a big wall end of 2019, just creatively, emotionally, spiritually, I just realized I was hating music. Like, I just was super cynical and jaded and just burned out. And, it was on the heels of, upwards of 20 years of pursuing music. I played with House of Heroes from 15 years old to 35 years old pretty much. And so like 20 years of going for it, and we had our ups and downs, never got quite as far as we wanted to, lots of promises made and just disappointments, and so we were very used to that. But just after so many years of just getting beat down trying, and then that band, we kind of cooled off and we didn't break up or anything. We were just like all doing other stuff. And so we pretty much right away I started doing Vesperteen, which was just my own project. I made it, House of Heroes is very much a collaborative group effort thing, very much a band. And when I started Vesperteen, I was considering how to set it up. Like, I had all these songs written. It's like I could form a band, or it could just be me, and I just kind of have, collaborators here and there. So that's what I wanted to try it a different way. I was like, I've already done the band democratic thing, so I'm going to try the solo guy thing and kind of set it up that way. Started playing just like acoustic shows randomly, have friends that promote shows, and they just throw me on to open up just so I could practice being like a front man and singing, and that was awesome. And then Vesperteen put out an EP, and it just kind of took off, and was going really, really well. But I think, I don't know, I'm in the midst right now, the thick of like analyzing and reevaluating and learning from all of my experience. I just turned 40 a few weeks ago, and so I've been very reminiscent and reflective, and so to kind of look back and be like, what happened here with all this, and sort of feel like I am starting a new decade, and what am I doing and who am I, and so much of my identity has been in music, and so anyway, back to how I hit a wall, sort of end of 2019. Vesperteen was going well, but just a lot of pressure on myself, probably that I put on myself. It's hard, as an independent artist, just to do everything, and I also have a hard time delegating. I'm more like to be in control of things, and it's harder to just kind of putting it all on myself to take care of everything. And that was certainly a component of what burned me out, I'm sure. And so yeah, I was like, I signed with this label in 2019, like right at the beginning of the year, and spent several months out of the year living and working in LA. But again, it was just kind of there were like red flags up front. It was like a new label started by a producer that had great credentials and big hits, and but I just wasn't sure. We weren't sure, we being me, my manager / agent, and my wife, who kind of co-managed and was involved in everything and always helping out, and just weren't sure right off the bat, but it was something. And so I kind of managed to negotiate a decent deal just for a year, and was like, well, just try it out. And so, but it just ended up being a bust, and it was kind of the final like disappointment that just kind of pushed me. And again, not that I always try to take the responsibility and not just be like, you said this and you didn't do it, so it's all on you. I'm like, no, it's, I'll take responsibility for a lot of those things, but still, yeah, very impactful and really kind of burned me out ultimately, to where I was just like, I can't keep going. I could, but it would end up bad. Like something bad would happen. And so I really just took a big conscious step back. I've barely written anything in the past 2 years. And so anyway, all that's a big, long story about it. But that's where I am now. It's just like I've been trying to, like I said, reevaluate and figure out how to get back to a place where I feel like I have something to say. I think I do. I think I know I do, but just like, who cares? Like the market feels so oversaturated and chaotic, and social media is really difficult to keep up with, and I think could make anyone a little bitter and cynical and frustrated. And and so yeah, that's where I'm at now. I'm just trying to figure it out, but I feel like I've kind of cracked the eggshell a little bit of like, I'll just sit with a guitar, no expectations, or I'm always kind of writing a line here or there, or singing a melody into a audio note, but there's a good amount of, I feel like I'm just rambling here, but
no, listen, this is the place for rambles.
Okay, good.
Like, that's what I tell everybody. It's like, tell the longest stories you want. It is fine.
Cool.
That's what happens here.
Well, feel free to just interject and expand on anything. What was I going to say? Man, I think I lost it.
You were talking a little bit about like what kind of writing music looked like for you now, where it's more so just like you'll kind of let yourself flow into it and stuff like that.
That's what it was. Yeah, every time. So for a while, and it still kind of happens, but every time I would sit down to write, it just felt like something was like missing, or something fell away from me, or a dial got turned down, or a nozzle was, the hose is cinched, and I was just kind of like, what? If like a light's off in your new house or something, you're like in the box isn't marked with every room, and you're like, which is it? This one? Why is nothing turning this on? So I'm just kind of doing that to my creativity and being like, where did the mojo go? I can't find it. And I know lots of artists deal with that, and everybody has a different experience with it. But yeah, so that's been my thing, is just trying to find that. It's not a switch. It's not a thing to flick on, but it feels like, I don't know, I'm just like a maybe typical guy that just wants to fix the problem, be like, this is the problem, how do I fix it? There's got to be a way. Am I just missing it? What's good?
Right.
So I feel like I've been doing the work mentally, therapeutically, just trying to create space and opportunity, and but also, I started this brand new tattooing career essentially, and it's like, cool, I'm just like throwing myself into that, and it takes up, my time and energy, and so, yeah, maybe I'm not carving out enough time, but it's hard. I need productivity and I need results, and so it's hard to just be like, I might write for a year and have nothing.
Right. Yeah. Do you feel like and obviously things change with anything over the years. Like, do you feel like maybe the thing right now that you're missing is almost like the intention behind the music, to where like maybe was that driving force for years, like, oh, I'm on the path, so clearly the goal is, yeah, I'm going to keep touring or keep making music and keep releasing stuff and blah, 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 to hopefully obviously get it noticed and get signed and get, bigger tour, whatever it may be. Like, and clearly I'm not saying you weren't in it for fun. Like, yes, you're doing it for fun, but also when there's like a larger intention of like, I get to do something I'm having fun with, and also maybe the result becomes this like, yes, the success, whatever that may be. Do you feel like, has that maybe been the change at all of like, okay, I was on that path for a while and I did it, and now I'm just trying to uncover that new intention of what?
Yeah, I think the intention previously for the past 20 years has been not as, it's just been more inherent or organic, or just like, no, it's just coming out of me. Like, there's nothing, and so in a way, I've thought about it this way, that maybe this is just a very different new opportunity. Like, it was almost like I didn't have to try before in a way. Of course I had to try. There's lots of work, it can be laborious to write and record even one song, let alone many. And so, but it always just felt like there was a flow. Like there was always a river flowing, and now there's like suddenly, a blockage there, and now I have to do something about that or find a workaround or whatever. So yeah, it's just different. It's a different approach now.
Yeah.
You said something about intention. Yeah, it's very much now, it's like, because I'm also dealing with like purpose, like just in general in life, and like, what do I, what's the point with doing things other than, it's very, it could get real philosophical and out there with it, but yeah, I've felt a little stopped up there, a little blocked there with like, what's the point? Who cares what I have to say? Or feeling like I need to say something or get something out. Sometimes I've wondered, this is common with a lot of artists, that feel like they can't create something without some kind of tension. And I'm like, am I just too friggin' peaceful right now that I'm not at all compelled to like work out my frustrations? Because I'm not frustrated. I'm pretty chill. Like, I'm enjoying life. And so, I've considered that. I don't think it's really that, but it can definitely, I think of that regularly. I'm like, I need a problem. I need something to like complain about or write about or,
or just add to
work
that
out.
Drive.
And I do, yeah. And there are those things. There's never not opportunity for that. So it's really all about my perspective and my, really like my relationship with myself in a way, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it does. And like, and clearly there's 100 different things going on in there that, like you've said, every creative of any sort and kind, and every just human being in general, like is always kind of dealing with a different, constant, ever-flowing cycle of like different blockades, different inspirations, different everything, like all that sort of stuff ebb and flows all the time. But especially I think when you're on some sort of a creative path for years, like you were saying, it sort of becomes almost second nature. Mm-hmm. It's like, oh yeah, I'm doing this because this is just what I'm doing. And yes,
it's who
life,
I am.
Exactly. Yeah. And like life is evolving around me, but I'm doing this thing. So when you sort of detach from that thing a little bit, or you don't feel like, oh, this is coming to me as naturally as it was before, it is sort of an even more jarring thing, because now it's not like, I can't write a song to try and make it go viral, or I can't write a song to try and get signed, or I can't write a song for the new show. It's more so like, I don't even know if I feel like writing a song right now. So of course that's a very like jarring thing. And that's why I asked like about the intention piece of like, what was the intention for those years and years of doing it, or what is now maybe the lack of intention that like you're almost trying to uncover it seems like, of like, well, yeah, is it just am I just doing this for me, or can I make the music? Like, do you feel like that's some of the battle that you're contesting with, is like, am I not finding the want within myself to like, I'm just going to write a song for me?
Yeah.
Like,
there's two different ways that I look at that. One is just the achievement of creating something. I can say that I am in a place where I am comfortable making something just for me. And that really is pretty essential to approach it that way, because it did get to a point, especially with this label, with just these sort of input that we would get from, label and representatives, that just felt not me. It just always felt like, oh, I have to shape my expression this way to fit in this thing, instead of, this is my expression, let's see where it fits, or who's going to latch onto it. And so that has, now I'm just at a place where I don't really care about, I love someone admiring what I do, but that's not going to be the reason I do it. I really kind of have just a self, I'm my own worst critic, I guess. And so I just want to make something that I think is awesome. Maybe that's a bit vain, where I'm like, I know what's awesome, and so if I like it, it's really awesome. And so my stuff has to be good enough for me.
But that is kind of what it is, though. You know what I mean? Like, we all kind of set our own bars for what we want. You know what I mean? Like, I do that with this show or anything else that I do. Is like, I've learned to uncover my personal bars of like, where do I want to set it? Because sometimes it could be different for different things. You know what I mean? Where it's like, all right, my bar for this is really high. Yeah. So I need to achieve it in that way. Or my bar for this is pretty low. Yeah. So you know what? Whatever it takes just to kind of get it done. Do I want it to just exist? Do I want to just create it, or just do it, whatever it may be. Yeah. So I don't think there's anything ever wrong, and I know this is not what you were saying, but I don't think there's anything wrong with sort of those, like, do I think it's awesome? Yes or no? And then how does that make me feel if I do or do not pursue it or make it?
Yeah, so I feel good and healthy, about that approach. But then the other approach is the content and the, what is being said and made and why and for who. So more granularly, that's where I kind of run into issues of, second guessing everything or not thinking it's good enough. Overall, in a more broad sense, I can be like, I just want to make it and then judge it. And, it's like I have to be my own producer in that sense, where I'm like, I start the song and then I look at the song from a different angle and have to tweak it, So yeah, I don't know. It's a fun mess up there in the old brain. Right. In which you're right in the middle of actively kind of trying to figure out. But it's so helpful to talk about, like this. It's always better to, just get it out of myself, If I feel like I have conversations about it semi-regularly with my wife and friends and such, but no, it's good to just kind of spew it all out sometimes. Well, yeah, so it's not just sitting and cycling around in your head, and you're going to run into the same thoughts and same perspectives and everything, and it's like, all right, sometimes just expelling something from your mind is the biggest help that you could do to either, whether you're not going to, you may or may not get an immediate decision from that, doesn't mean you have to at all. Like, it's and at least just talking about it. Yeah, and I don't have expectations of which is hard because it's kind of scary. It's kind of just like a free fall unknown. Like, I don't know, might not land at all. Like, might just kind of fizzle. I don't know, but I don't think that's the case. I can tell when there's something in there. And I think there is. But that's where the frustration is being like, I know it's there. I know it's behind that wall. I just got to figure out how to get behind that wall. Right.
The following announcement has been paid for by the New World Order.
Oh, excuse me. Hopping in here real quick to tell you about a brand new sponsor for the show, Oak Cold Brew. It's cold brew that uses naturally processed ingredients with no preservatives or additives and roasted right here in Columbus. And guess what? You can get Ope delivered right to your door every Friday if you live in Columbus. Or you can do weekly or bi-weekly subscriptions, and if you do subscribe, you save 10%. Otherwise, they have 4 packs available for $20. So if you want to find out more, follow them at Ope Cold Brew, or visit opecoldbrew.com to grab a 4-pack or set up your subscription. Ope, it's dang good cold brew. What are your... I would love to dig into a little bit of like your like thoughts and feelings of, you mentioned earlier, like, yeah, when it comes to music or just creating in general, like there's such an oversaturated market now, and you've got to like learn how to play the game of social media and all this sort of stuff. Like, what's your take on like creativity and how it's shared on social media now? Because this is a conversation I have with a ton of different people, and there's tons of like positive takes, and I'm like, I didn't think about it like that. And there's a ton of negative takes where I'm like, that's exactly what I think too. And like, so I'm interested to know like what because I ask that because it can be a new barrier of entry. It's like this weird like double-edged sword because on one hand, I mean, anybody can make anything and it can get seen by, even being seen by 50 people is 50 people more than would probably see it if we didn't have social media and the internet. Yeah. So it's like we have this glorious thing that you can make things like right now, this show and this conversation, no one would know about it, because I guarantee if the internet or social media wasn't around, I probably wouldn't be able to have convinced somebody to let me have like a radio show where I talk to people about their lives for 2 hours. You know what I mean? Like, so looking at it in like kind of the quote unquote old school sense, it's this amazing thing. But at the same time, now that everyone can do everything, it does become this like, well, are you going to enter it just to create? Or are you going to enter it to try and play the game? Or are you going to enter, because there's just so many different things. Like what's your kind of viewpoint on it? Like,
it could depend on the day. I mean, I could argue both sides, right. Like it just, I think there's valid observations to both angles. I think, I think I've seen from my experience, in my old band, I feel like we were coming up we straddled the non-internet age and the internet age, and we were doing our band right as things were changing, Apple Music or, iTunes and iPods and digital music, and then, Napster and MySpace and like sharing music, and just the way everybody was discovering and consuming and paying for music was changing like crazy. Everybody, it was the Wild West. Everybody's just freaking out trying to figure out how to approach it, and every artist was too. I think it was to our detriment that we didn't evolve and didn't adapt those new innovations that were at our disposal and we could have. And so I always kind of keep that in my back pocket of like, don't be cynical about something new that seems obnoxious. Whether it's whatever, TikTok, trends, anything that is popular. And I'm sure that was our, punk rock ethos and our upbringing, where we're just like, screw corporate stuff, just DIY, don't do anything that a lot of people think is cool. Immediately uncool. Right. And so, that was our, that was not a good thing. And so I always kind of have that in the back of my mind, like, don't just eschew something because your, sort of knee-jerk reaction is negative, like, just be open-minded. And so I've tried to do that and just, adopt things, regarding social media engagement and stuff like that. But it's hard. I think some pros are, like you were saying, even music creation is not gate-kept by, you have to know a guy that owns a studio, I guess, and record. And, like my 15-year-old son just a couple weeks ago wrote, recorded, released an 8-song album by himself with no help at all, and it's great. It's incredible.
That's
and so
wild.
and I keep kind of I've used that as an example because I'm like, I when I was literally 15, we had to save up our money and borrow my mom's car to put all of our gear in and go to a guy that my dad knew that did audio, and he could record us. And like, it was just so much more than just like, my kid's just like on his MacBook, like done, got it.
Yeah.
And I think that's cool. I think it's really good that it is not so gate-kept by studios and labels and, professionals, as it were. And there's lots of other kind of pros like that. Same with releasing music. Anybody can just release music. Anybody can find their audience. The resources that we have, just even to record, and you can get Logic for $200 and you can literally make a hit record. You can make a hit song. I think that's awesome. I think it's a good thing objectively. I don't think that's not something I would complain about. What was I thinking? I lost my train of thought. Gay cap, making music. So negative things about it. I'll just jump to that. There was a great, ironically, a TikTok that I saw talking about TikTok, but more in general, just talking about this very thing, the pressure, obligation, necessity to engage in social media platforms in order to promote and distribute your brand, music, product. She was saying, she was a song, I forget who she was, but she was a songwriter. Had a bunch of her Grammys behind her, like professional musician, songwriter, producer. And I don't know if she made up this analogy or if she was quoting someone else, but she was kind of giving an example of, she's like, imagine you are a baker. You make the best bread in town. Everybody comes to you for your bread. You've been doing it for 15 years. It's what you know, it's who you are. You're so comfortable doing it. You're kind of killing it. And then suddenly, the town starts to change. And suddenly, you can't just sell bread anymore. Someone comes along and is like, you're going to have to also be a butcher. I know you've never done it and you're not comfortable with it and you don't have the tools or the knowledge or the know-how or even the desire to do it. But if you want anybody to eat your bread, you're going to have to also sell meat and, learn how to do that. And she was equating that to musicians being like, oh, now I have to be like a compelling video person, just to get my shit out there for people to pay attention. And that really resonated with me because I've never felt like, or it's always, I think I am capable, like I'm a performer, so I could be capable of putting on some kind of personality or persona or, but it's always felt very inauthentic and cringy to me to do that. I feel like people can smell it, and I've just never wanted to do it in that pressured way, and instead of just being genuine about it. And so, I think that's a real tricky thing. It's like, what does the musician who just wants to write and record music and put it out and play shows do when not doing all these other things that you don't know how to do and aren't good at are the things that can get you to the next place to get people to hear your music, So I think that's the biggest kind of struggle or issue.
I think it kind of goes back to that old kind of silly analogy where it's like someone's judging a fish based off of how well it can climb a tree, and it's like, well, no, it's a fish.
It's the same. Yeah,
it's a fish. It's why are we and so that is and again, for every negative thing that I can sit and complain about with social media, yes, there are tons of positives. I'm not going to pretend like there's not. Again, no one would be listening to this right now if social media and the internet didn't exist. It wouldn't happen. But on the flip side, I'm very, very, very similar to you in the sense of I have no problem playing a character. I have no problem being in front of a camera. Like, I enjoy acting just as much as I enjoy directing a project. Like, I love performing. However, there's never a day where I wake up and I'm like, man, I want to film a TikTok.
Yeah.
And then so it's like I'm
a different medium, I guess.
Sort of like almost reprimanded in a way, not by anyone directly, but like at large, by kind of like the new way of creating. Is like, well, dude, if you're not going to make those TikToks, then you can't really be upset if your thing doesn't catch on.
Yeah.
It's like, but that's not what I enjoy, and it does then become that inauthentic thing.
Yeah.
That's like,
you're like, well, I guess I have to do it. And then you do it, and then people don't like it because they can tell you're not authentic.
and then
like,
what's that do?
This isn't working.
When it comes back around anyway. Like, then I'm having to create in a form that I don't like. So what's that actually going to do to the things I do like?
Yeah.
I'm going to get burnt out. I'm going to get annoyed. I'm like, well, if trying to be a podcaster or trying to be a filmmaker or whatever means I have to also be a content creator or be an influencer, that's not actually what I want to do. So then am I going to continue to pursue these things that I actually want to do? And I think, again, I'm making it sound like so doom and gloom when it's just like, well, do you want to do it or not? And I don't know, you can find a way regardless probably. But I do think that that's like a big wall that, like, there's a lot of people who have to get over that.
Yeah.
And I have that conversation way more often where people are like, man, like, I don't like making TikToks, or I don't like making reels, or I don't like standing in front of my camera doing these things. Yeah. I have that conversation way more than someone who's like, man, being a content creator is incredible. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, well, yeah, I do feel like I see more of a negative experience than I do a positive experience. Mm-hmm. Even though what's wild is, like, I've seen great results come from people posting a bunch of TikToks. It's like, okay, they got a bunch of views, and that actually led them to like literally getting a record deal or getting a thing with this or whatever. So it's like, that's the hard part, is like the arguments against it of like, man, it's really inauthentic and for some people, and it's kind of annoying. At the same time, it's like, but it can bring results. So then it's like, it just reverts back to continuously trying to figure out like, well, what's good for you? And then it is just kind of like, well, what do you actually want? Do you want the numbers and to go viral, or do you want to be famous from the thing? Because then, all right, I guess sometimes you got to take some steps to get that quote unquote fame. Yeah. But if you're okay with
sometimes the compromise isn't that bad. You know, it's like just a little adjacent to what you already really do, and you can make it work. I think what was I just thinking before you? Man, my brain's not working well today.
You're good.
It's all that garage dust got in there. Also, I stayed up really late watching a boxing match last night. So.
Hey, you know, it happens.
Oh, shoot. Yeah, it's tricky. I think I'm all about, trying to use it. Like, almost be like, okay, this is what people are expecting. How can I, like, that's the real challenge, is how can I engage with this in my way that does feel authentic and does feel real and is impactful. There's also, I was thinking, there's so much like psychology behind it too when it comes to even just getting people's attention, because there's so much out there. And so people have realized things like, I don't know if you've noticed this, but some people, whatever it is in us humans that love, like fail videos or anything funny that, or someone falling down, anything like that is automatically, like, it is really strong. Like, it gets our attention so quick and, really well. And so I've seen probably a bunch of tattoo, my Instagram has a bunch of tattoo artists and stuff in it now. And so I'll, be scrolling or whatever, reels, and, I'll come across a video and it's, some lady's on a table at a wedding slipping and falling, and then she falls, and then it cuts to this artist like doing some amazing work, and it's like they're literally just putting this thing up there at the front to just get you to watch, and then they kind of turn the page and you're like, oh, tattoos, okay, cool. So like you at least watch like part of it. There's probably some kind of like 1.5 second segment of the written into the algorithm that's like that counts as a view, or that counts as an engagement or whatever. And so I'm sure these people are aware of that and kind of hacking the algorithm.
Wild.
Yeah, and there's a bunch of different things like that people do to kind of, you've probably, a better example is you've seen on TikTok or any video thing where it's, it'll be like, I can't believe their reaction at the end, and because it makes you want to be like, well, what was their reaction? I gotta wait and see.
Yeah.
Just all those kind of tactics. It's so funny. I'm very fascinated with like futurism and technology and AI and just all the implications that our technological advancements are capable of, or just kind of theorizing about how things could evolve and progress over the years, and so that kind of stuff. I'm always like, even with ads, where it's like this is still related.
Yeah.
It's like people are being trained currently, and I think already are trained to ignore ads in a way that we, and that's again why TikTok is so good at it, because you got just some random person being like, you guys, I just saw the craziest movie on Netflix, you gotta watch it, and it does not feel like an ad at all, and you're like, oh, what was it? Like, because it's this person, it's more personable, and so they break through you are being pitched a thing. And that's cool, but I'm like, even that, like, as soon as I sniff that out, I'm like, get out of here,
right,
And so we're being so well tuned to be able to filter anything that we don't want to be told or shown, I'm fascinated by the implications of that, going down through the next 10 years. It's like, how are we going to be advertised to?
Right. And I'm also, it's just, all of it feeds into also like attention spans and where do those go? Like, do people at some point return to like, no, I want something that I can actually pay attention to for longer than 3 seconds?
And that's the thing with music,
shorter,
like music content. If you're a musician, you put out because I would make music videos and it'd be like, cool, you got less views than usual. It's like, I spent all this time and money and effort and energy and creativity into this thing, and it's like somebody's like, oh, okay, and I do it too. Like, I mean, now I'll if I see friends that have made something, I'm trying to share, comment just to support, because I'm like, I know how fucking hard it is to just get anybody to even see it,
absolutely,
let alone and engage. And so, but yeah, that's frustrating. Like, that'll turn anybody off to. And I wonder, will that change how everything is done? Like, will people, I think we'll always do some kind of music video, content, in some way, but you can't just keep doing it the way we have done it. Like, it's got to evolve.
Right. And I mean, so I filmed music videos for years.
Okay.
And now I'm sitting and I'm like, hey, yeah, still down to do them. But whenever someone's like, oh man, we really need a music video, I'm like, no, you don't.
No, you need 20 reels for the next
literally
few weeks.
Sit down in your living room and film yourself singing to your song.
Yeah.
And then post that on TikTok 3 times a day.
Yeah.
And, of course,
And I do see bands doing stuff like that. Yeah, they're not putting their energy into the, more conventional media pieces. There's some duo that comes up on my TikTok of these 2 guys that, have a band, but on TikTok, all they do is combine 2 popular songs. And so it'll just be whatever, Mr. Brightside and Kiss from a Rose on a Great, and they just combine them, and they're and people are like, oh, that's so cool. But they're trying to get interest in them, and then be like, and by the way, we're coming to Cincinnati, come see us.
That does that.
Yeah. But that's tricky. But then it's it's becoming a part of their brand. Oh, are you going to play those at your show? So bands are using tactics to, as bait to get you hooked, and then they're like, but actually it's just a hook. We really brought you here for this.
And then it's okay, but how many people do stick around after, you know what I mean? After wait, I just wanted did I just want the appetizer, or am I sticking around for the actual meal?
A good example, are you on TikTok at all?
So I'm not really. Okay. People will send them to me and I'm like, this is funny.
Yeah.
And I'll every once in a while try to post something and I'm just like, So.
Yeah, I was trying to think of other examples. I keep thinking of, there's this guy called PDUSA who just does really funny videos, really funny, and they're good. It's all him. He'll play 4 different characters, just all having a conversation. But he's a musician, and like I didn't even know he was a musician.
Yeah.
My friend had to be like, "Oh yeah, he plays." And I was like, "Oh, that's cool."
Right.
And so then like you see him at a festival or something, and you're like, "Yeah, I'm like, I like this thing that you do. It's good and funny. Is your music also good? I don't know. I'll check it out."
Right.
But it's just, I don't know. It's weird, man. And it's the same for actors and comedians and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. And that's the hard part is like I said earlier, like I love being in front of a camera. I love performing, all that sort of stuff. And I'll think of skits sometimes where I'm like, oh, that'd be a fun like thing. Like that could actually probably work on TikTok. Like not go viral, but just like that works in the format. But then I never have the creative energy or want to take the next half hour or whatever and film the thing.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't feel like setting up my iPhone and saying the thing and then playing the character over here. And like, even though I'm like, I know I could, it never sparks an interest. And I'm like, there's something else I could work on. I could write this script. I could edit this thing.
Yeah.
I could
What do you think it
design
is?
this
Is
thing.
it what is the resistance? I mean, for me, it just is like, what's the point? Like, there's so many, who cares? Like, I can get very, fatalist in that way.
I don't know. I think for me, it almost is the inauthentic thing because I can say them at the exact same time and it might sound like a contradiction, but like, again, one part of me loves performing, but there's another part of me that does not want to just turn my iPhone on and oh man, I can't believe we're over here. No way. And then make something like, even though it could be funny or it could be cool or whatever, like I just haven't unlocked that in me. I'm not saying I never will. There might be every time I talk to somebody about TikTok, I'm like, I just don't know what I like about it yet.
Yeah.
So like maybe 6 months from now or a year from now or whatever, I'm like, oh, this is how I have fun with it. But it's like, otherwise that just doesn't sound enjoyable.
Yeah.
What does unfortunately sound enjoyable is like spending an entire day filming an actual short film and acting in that.
Yeah.
That I'm like, that's a lot harder.
Yeah.
But it's way more fun, way more fulfilling. So I don't know.
And I think, like I said before, I think it's a balance of finding how to implement the things that bring you joy and your passion to somehow work in these channels.
Exactly.
And be like, okay. And that's, sometimes you might never find it, but, if you make a little bit of an effort, I think you could. I just realized, actually my wife pointed out, I think just last night, I hadn't really done reels on Instagram. I don't know if this is fun to talk about, but we're doing it. She was like, did you see that? So I've hardly ever done any. And then I did one I just had a fun tattoo story circumstance. Clients came in. They were fans of Vesperteen. They had seen me play in Denver a few times. They were in town. A girl was going through we were reminiscing about these shows, and they were back in 2017. And she was like, yeah, look at all these pictures. Look, here's us. And then she's like, oh, look, so I'm tattooing all of them. There was 3 girls. I was taking turns tattooing all of them. And one of them was like, oh, look, you signed your signature, and then I asked you to write the word fuck really big. And I was like, oh, that's hilarious. I don't even remember doing that. And she showed me the picture, and I was like, that's so cool. I was like, I would totally tattoo that on you. And then she was like, wait, would you really? Should you? Could you? Would you? Should we do this? And I was like, yeah, let's do it. And so we were like, wait, this is a cool moment. And so they helped me out because I don't know how to TikTok. And so they helped me make this fun story. And I was like, that's why it was compelling, because it's just a fun story. But anyway, my wife was like, did you see that it's got 13,000 views now? And you didn't hashtag or do anything. It's just because it was a compelling story that people wanted to see and see how it turned out.
Right.
I was like, yeah, maybe I do need to approach stuff like that, whether it's tattooing or music, and just more of a human interest storytelling kind of way. I think that's, but again, it feels so cringy to be like, yeah, my angle is to exploit emotion.
And it's hard. Like something I've heard,
marketing.
People explain before when it is really focused on oh, if you want to be a content creator, you want to blah, blah, blah. So many of their answers are you have to remember, you need to create something that the audience will like.
Yeah.
You're not supposed to be creating from what you're not supposed to create for yourself. You're supposed to create for an audience. And immediately when I hear that, I'm like, oh, well, then I don't fit into that criteria.
Same.
Unfortunately for the potential views or something that I would love for something to get. I am bad at creating things strictly for just other people. Mm-hmm. Now, I say that even though this show technically is created for other people, because I want people to listen to it and I want them to connect with somebody. I want them to hear someone's story and understand and learn like, oh, wow, that's a perspective I had never heard before. Or, man, we are all more alike than we are different. I can't believe that person experienced that thing that I thought only I experienced. Like, so in the emotional connection, the storytelling realm, it is for other people. But super upfront, it might not be directly portrayed as that, right? Because like, okay, I'm enjoying making this show, but I'm not portraying it or selling it as, here's 5 tips that you can be an entrepreneur with tomorrow. It's like...
Do you think maybe that's why people latch on to podcasts, why they've become pretty popular? Because it is a little bit more of a personality. You're just getting... It's a little less edited. I mean, obviously people are editing and, structuring things and writing, things, but maybe conversational ones more so that people, you just really get to see just a very organic, real-time human engagement, that's what's appealing to me, at least. It's like these long-form interview kind of conversation things I think people are really into that.
Yeah, and that's my hope is like, well, people still go watch movies. People's, you know what I mean? Like the long form things, people still go experience. And yes, podcasts are booming and it's gigantic and everybody has one because people like to feel like you're sitting in on a conversation with these people and you're the extra person in the room that you don't really get to chime in, but you get to listen.
What do you think about so many podcasts doing videos now? Because I heard somebody say that podcasts became so popular is because you don't have to watch them, because you can do other things while just listening, like driving or working out, or right. There was so much more opportunity, but with watching something you have to give it your attention.
It's interesting because when I started doing video for this show, I almost feel like I did it more out of necessity than necessarily a want
to keep up.
Is it cool? Do I focus on trying to make it look good? Absolutely. Yes. If I'm going to do video, again, my bar, where's my bar sat at, right? All right. If I'm going to do video, I want it to look cool. But if, the way of content wasn't going the way it was, being so focused on video and all this sort of stuff, I don't know if I would have pushed to try and figure video out. Because yes, it's just like, oh, well, people are listening to the conversation. All right, they're listening. Let's just do that. Let's lean into that. That's fine.
Yeah.
But yes, it does almost come from that necessity of even from a content standpoint, if I'm making a promo piece for an episode, it helps if they're seeing somebody talk. And what's weird is it's almost pushing them to, because the video episodes of this get way less views than the audio does get listens, right? So naturally people are 100% listening more than they are watching. But it's almost like the video is more of the promotional aspect. And that's what I've been trying, and it's such a battle with me anyway. All of everything we've been talking about so far, it's that's what I'm trying to tell myself is so much of the content creation and all this sort of stuff. If I can slowly rewire my brain into hey, if I can find out how it's authentic to me and how I can have fun with it, that's one thing. Maybe there's another aspect of it if I just see it as, well, that's a part of the promotional aspect. That's almost a part of the business aspect of it. Is just like back in the day, you would have needed to get radio play for something. And how can we get this radio deal? Or how can we get a storefront? Or how can we hang up flyers? Maybe that has been, maybe content itself has almost become the new version of that. Yeah. Where it's and there's 2 ways to do it. I don't think there's necessarily, it's only this or it's only that. I'm not saying you can't just have fun making content. But I'm trying to tell myself, well, maybe somebody like me who my fun comes in all the deep stuff. So maybe if the content part is this is how you're promoting your thing. That's just the promotion. So you got to suck it up and you need to just do the promotional thing. Yeah. Maybe that's the aspect. Maybe that's the thing I need to try and remind myself of, even though it can be annoying.
Yeah, it can be all about your perspective, just how you approach it. And okay, is this, what am I willing to spend my time doing or compromise or whatever?
Right. Because
do you know if anyone has a VR podcast yet?
I don't know, but I would be surprised if that doesn't exist or if it's not in the works.
Yeah.
Of you are.
I just thought of that.
It puts you on, you're sitting on the couch with the people and you're sitting in the middle of them or something. That would be very, very cool.
VR is the next big thing.
Yeah.
I think.
That's a whole, I don't know if I'm prepared to try and figure
as
out how to
long
make
as
this
society
show
doesn't
VR.
collapse in a major way, I think VR will. Actually, Elon Musk, whatever you think about him is fine, but he had an interesting quote I saw recently where he was like, hey, either society, human civilization will live and evolve long enough to where we develop digital realities that are imperceptible from our reality, or we will cease to exist as humans. He's like, it's gonna go either way. Like one of those two things is gonna happen. It might take a long time for either thing to happen, but he's like, it's bound to happen. One or the other.
Yeah.
Either we're gonna die out, or we're gonna get to a place where we are gods creating worlds.
Right.
Like, that's fun.
It's like that's like deep and dark and all that sort of stuff to think about, but it's also like probably.
Yeah.
Like, probably not far off. Because, again, it just goes back to, like, all the kind of almost rudimentary things that we're talking about right now. Like, how do you get someone's attention? How do you get them to pay attention to your stuff? Like, even the ad thing. This is something I wanted to bring up earlier when you were talking about the ads. I saw an ad the other night. And you know what's unfortunate is that I remember the ad, but I don't at all remember the show that it was promoting. So I don't know if it worked or not. But it was...
That happens a lot.
It was one of the coolest ways that I've seen somebody make an ad for YouTube. So, YouTube ad pops up, you get about 5 second, the 3 to 5 second counter or whatever, then the skip ad thing pops up. Whatever the show it was promoting was like a time traveling show, and it was a character from the show, and he was like, hey, I don't have that long to talk to you, but I need you to hit that skip button right now because it's going to put me where it's going to send me to the other dimension that I need to go to. So I'm serious. Hit the skip button now to send me over to the place, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, okay, we're making this interactive, and that's actually fun. Yeah. And what's interesting is it then, one, it's like, you're either going to have fun and be like, oh yeah, I'm hitting the skip buttons. Cool, he wanted me to, right? What it also did is the next one I saw, I was like, what happens if I don't hit skip? Yeah. I was then more interested
something else
in watching the rest of the ad.
Yeah,
I was
the
like,
interactive component is
what is he gonna say?
Compelling.
When I'm
Do you remember that show? Netflix tried to do an interactive show. Do you remember that? Bandersnatch or something like that,
with
where
Black
you could
Mirror.
like pick your adventure kind of thing.
Yes.
They haven't done it since. I wonder how it went. Maybe it didn't go well.
Yeah, I don't know. I remember doing it because I'm a big fan of the show Black Mirror.
Yeah.
And I remember doing it, and I was like, all right, that was fun. Sure. Like, that was, you could choose your,
I just wonder if there might be some sort of, it's almost like a video game where you're like, take this route or whatever. There's someone like giving you the instructions of the crossroads you're at.
Yeah.
And turning, merging it with, a film, a story or something like that.
I'm, again, that's another thing where I'm like, I wouldn't be shocked if someone...
And then with deepfake stuff, you can
which is wild.
You can be like, I'm in it. Like, I'm a part of this story.
Yeah.
Or you can pick every character. Like, there's a menu at the front, and you just like pick like, oh yeah, my high school English teacher, my ex-girlfriend from 2 years ago, like these are all the characters in here.
Yep.
That'd be cool.
It's the
kind of weird shit I think about.
No, but I love it, and I also feel like it's not far off. Yeah. Like, I feel like at some point in the next handful of years, there'll be a movie where it's like, you face scan, and then you get to be the main character. Then you get to choose the thing, and blah blah blah. Like
VR, man.
I absolutely, the future. I can see that happening.
This might be too much, but I tried VR porn recently. That was interesting.
Whoa!
But that really, but it just it opened up. Like, I was like, the implications of this are so vast. Like, you can do so many, like, especially like with facial. Have you seen the guy that does the Tom Cruise deepfake?
Yes.
It's like so real. Mm-hmm. It's so good, and other people, people are doing that too. But like, if that exists now, in 5 years, it's going to be even better and crazier. So, the implications of something like that, not even just porn stuff, but that where you can be like, yeah, I bang my crush every night. Like, she doesn't even know.
Exactly. Like, that's wild.
Or my dead spouse. Like, I still get to,
right.
Stuff like that. There's like therapeutic applications.
And like, I literally have thought about that before, where I'm like, I wonder if there's ever a day where like porn or whatever gets so futuristic that you can do those sort of things. You can just like, you can do whatever with anyone. And I'm like, does that have like a positive effect on like creeps on the internet? Like,
I know, yeah.
Like, could then like creeps go and be like, oh yeah, I had sex with Angelina Jolie and now I don't have to tweet her my dick or something. Like, it's like, does that actually end up becoming a thing where
not exposure therapy, but like a kind of like that, like like exercising some compulsion in like a safe way. Yeah, there's lots of
because it's like, how many less creepy tweets or DMs could that maybe cause?
Yeah, all the incels could be a little more satiated,
you know,
not have to be so frustrated.
And like, that's super weird of like the idea of like someone could just bang anyone's avatar,
or even like revenge fantasies. Like, yeah, I have a bad day at work and I come home, put the VR on, and I like slit my boss's throat in the VR. You know,
I also feel like that's possible.
Yeah,
like I totally.
And
feel
then
like
you feel a little better. Or you just feel, I don't know, it could be bad. I don't know.
Or maybe it makes it feel so realistic. You're like, I need the real thing now.
Yeah.
And like that's.
Or just like the after, because like doing that, I was like, I felt like I was kind of with somebody. I was like I almost felt bad. Like, I mean, my wife did it too, but then I was like, I felt like I was with somebody else just now, and like I feel kind of bad about it.
That sounds so.
And
wild.
so like your brain registering something that is so realistic as a real experience. It's like the more realistic it is, the more your brain is like, wow, I just had, it's like watching a scary movie. You're a little shaken up after, like you're still having a physical lasting reaction. It's not just like, it's fake, and then you walk away. Like,
right.
And so when it comes to like sex and murder, like if you're doing these things in a very realistic way, you're not just walking away from that with no effect. And if you're doing it like regularly,
which people absolutely.
Yeah.
Like,
that's the direction we're going. I don't know.
I mean,
it'll be regulated, but
yeah, I do feel like people are absolutely going to be, for sure, just entering VR worlds and VR experiences of like, I did this after I came home from work all day yesterday, and now, and then that becomes like any sci-fi movie you see, like people. Are they able to differentiate real life from fake life and all this sort of stuff? And then what is it? Like, then the whole conversation of like, well, if it helps that person, what's wrong with it? Like, I literally could see all of that.
And the implications, we don't have to keep going on about it, but I find it fun. I don't know if you've seen any, like I'm always seeing these like AI, or there was a big thing about an AI like programmer guy that came out and was like, I think this thing we created is sentient, like has like an awareness. Yeah. I haven't heard much about it since then, but it was pretty interesting. And then there's some other, I mean, there's plenty of like conversational bots that you can like have a conversation with. And so I think, if AI progresses too, it's like people that are isolated or lonely or whatever can like have friends or have social engagements without the the negative parts, like I have to go out and am I sweaty and am I coming across weird, like you can just start over or different bar, different menu, like I don't know, that could be cool.
And it's weird because it's like half of that is great, and the other half is like you're eliminating all actual human interaction. So it's like, again, great thing because it made this person feel good, or they got to experience something they didn't think they could, or whatever. Like I've even had friends right now who have just done like I've never gotten to mess with VR yet. But I've had friends who are like, yeah, I did like the VR Google Map thing. And I like went to a cliff on like so-and-so, and I literally thought I was going to fall off, but like it seemed like I was there.
Oh yeah.
So it's like, okay. Then,
that's why you see all those videos of like people like jumping into their TVs because they're like so immersed in these worlds.
Exactly. Because you're just confusing your brain of like, are we actually here? What are we actually doing? Like,
I think with music, there's some cool applications that could be done as far as like private concerts, or like, you could literally have like whatever, put it on. You're like, I'll pay $150 to have Coldplay perform like right as if they're like in my living room or whatever it is. Like that's more of an AR, like augmented thing where I think that'll be a big thing too. Lots of cool implications with music, I think.
For sure. Because aren't there already concerts being like happening in like video games and stuff like that? Where you can,
Yes.
or like metaverse concert or whatever it is. Like, I don't know.
I know there's been like stand-up shows and stuff too that people have done. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it's definitely already happening. I also love that this is like, you're so fascinated about this stuff. I don't ever get to talk about this stuff.
I feel like I'm off base because I'm like, shouldn't I be focusing on what's going on right now, or so that I can engage with it? But no, I'm way more like, what if this?
Which is always fun. The what ifs are of course fun, especially when it's in like the sci-fi crazy wild realm.
You into sci-fi
but
stuff?
Also, I'm so larger horror fan than anything.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Like when it comes to like movie genres, if we're gonna label it like that.
What's the best cross or combination of sci-fi and horror?
Ooh,
Event Horizon.
Event Horizon is honestly incredible. That's probably the perfect answer.
Top 5 of combination of
that really is. Yeah, Event Horizon is.
I'm trying to think of some other.
I also feel like Event Horizon is an overlooked movie.
Yeah, it blew my mind when I think I was like in high school when it came out, and I was just like, this is insane.
Yeah,
I loved it. It was terrifying.
Oh, I'm sure. Like, and
So
I didn't
scary.
watch it until a handful of years ago for the first time.
Really?
So like I got it way after the fact of having experienced
I
all
think
the
it
other movies.
still holds up.
Oh, it 100% does.
Yeah.
I feel like it's now kind of getting that cult following a little bit.
Really?
Yeah. I think people are finally kind of waking up to like, yo, why
It's
does
kind of ahead of its
everybody...
time.
I do think it honestly
I'm gonna have to go rewatch that.
It's, you know what? It's worth it.
I did a movie group with some like friends and acquaintances and some strangers over kind of the longer quarantine period where no one was doing anything, and so a friend started like a chat group and people that were just interested in watching movies, and so someone would just pick a movie for the week. We'd all watch it at some point during the week, and then Sundays we'd all chat about what we thought.
Oh, that's
it was
so
really
fun.
fun. It got me to just watch some cool movies, and there was no guidelines as to like, the choice of movie. It could just be like your favorite movie from when you were a kid, or some new movie that just came out that you just wanted to see and want everybody to watch, or like a classic or a weird one that no one's heard about. It was really fun.
That's actually, that's super fun.
Yeah.
Are you, so when it comes to the sci-fi stuff, are you like, oh yeah, I love sci-fi movies and all that sort of stuff also, or are you just like, I just like real world implications of where all this stuff is going?
Yeah, the latter. Yeah, the second thing. Yes, I think that's my primary interest in it. I love Black Mirror stuff, and like, have you watched Love, Death, and Robots?
Yeah, yes.
Yeah,
Incredible.
like I love those shorts. I love Ray Bradbury is my favorite author, and his stuff is less. I mean, he does have some collections of short stories that are all very much sci-fi-ish, but I just like the kind of short-formed morsels.
Have you?
Those.
I cannot remember who wrote the story. Man, I'm gonna butcher the title now for some reason, but it's like, I have no mouth but I must scream. Have you heard of that short or that story?
Was it adapted to something else that I would know?
I don't think it's been adapted to anything yet.
Okay.
But it's just this like incredibly weird, dark, like AI sci-fi story where basically, spoilers, folks, if you don't want to know what this old story is. But basically what happens, like there's like this last group of human survivors in like a post-apocalyptic like AI taken over world. And like the main AI that has caused all this ends up trapping the humans somehow, and basically like keeps them alive by like it, but it continues playing out like artificial scenarios in which they die, but it won't actually let them die.
Interesting.
So it's just familiar. This eternal,
it's like hell.
Literally, yes. It's like an AI hell, essentially, is what it is.
Wow.
But yeah, I don't know how it hasn't been adapted into something, or maybe it has, and I just am not aware that I haven't put two and two together yet.
You'll have to text me that title. I'd love to look it up.
Yeah, I'll figure out what it actually is. If I did end up saying it wrong.
Yeah, I love that. I just watched that Everything Everywhere All at Once on my birthday a few weeks ago. That was amazing.
Such a good movie.
Yeah, anything like that. What was the other one I was just thinking of? I loved Severance. Did you watch Severance?
I never watched
show?
Severance, no.
Oh, it's good.
Yeah.
It's sci-fi, but I think I like the very near future sci-fi where it's like, what if we were able to just do this thing? It seems like one little thing, but if we did it, it would change everything,
Yep.
And so I like stuff like that.
That's how I feel about Black Mirror, which
Yeah.
is, you know, obviously what it's kind of
Yeah.
designed as. It's like,
Yeah.
this isn't, none of this is too far away.
Totally.
Realistically.
Yeah.
It's like, give it a couple years.
It's like we're already kind of doing the thing, and they're just taking it to the next level. And
Yeah.
I love
wonder
it.
why they stopped making
Are they done?
episodes. I don't know if they're like officially done. It has been like a press release of like, hey, no more. But like, basically, I think like the last batch of episodes dropped like 2018, 2019.
Yeah.
Then 2020 was what it was.
Yeah.
But they ended up producing. Did you watch that Netflix like mockumentary called Death to 2020?
Yes.
And they did another one for 2021.
Yeah.
So that's made by the Black Mirror people.
Okay. Yeah.
So like still kind of a satire. I mean,
Yeah.
that's all satire.
You're right.
But based off of reality, obviously. But like, I don't know. There was a part of me that was like, and I'm probably thinking too deeply about it. They're probably just like busy with things. But I'm like, are they just like kind of letting it play out? Like the world kind of got crazy enough where they were like, we don't need Black Mirror episodes because everything kind of, you know what I mean? I'm like,
Did
I
you
wonder if
watch the
they're-
OA?
I started that and I
Yeah.
don't think I ended up
Oh,
finishing
it's so good.
it. Yeah.
But I think they canceled it, but it ended in a really weird way, similar to kind of what you're saying, where it's like, oh, now it's just like, they kind of ended it as in like, it just like popped, it just kind of broke the third wall or whatever and popped into like them filming the show.
Oh,
and
that's
then it ended.
super
Yeah, it
cool.
was really weird.
That
And then it was just like canceled.
that
And everybody was
really,
like, what? How? What? No.
that makes me want
It's
to watch
great.
that
You
really
should.
bad now.
It's one of the best shows. That and Severance, I think, are the two best shows that have been out in a long time.
That's okay. See, that's
My favorite, at least.
Those are reasons why I don't care about spoilers for most things. Unless it's a show I already love, then I'm like, don't spoil it for me. But if it's something I don't know, I actually like people to tell me what happens because it helps me decide whether I actually want to watch it. Or
Yeah,
not.
in some way. Yeah, maybe that was a big spoiler, but no, I almost think that is a compelling reason to, like you said, kind of stick with it because it is weird. It's a weird show.
Yeah, and I mean, literally, you saying that ending, I'm like, okay, well, I have no idea what happens in between and how they get there, so I really want to know.
Yeah,
Because I'm sure while I'm also watching,
and honestly,
I'll
it
forget.
doesn't make any difference to what's going on in the story. Like it doesn't. It's not a conclusion, so it's not even like a part of the
Yeah.
plot. It's just like that happened. That's weird.
That's very cool.
Yeah, that's wild.
I love that. I also big fan of Love, Death, Robots. I
Yeah.
love that you brought that up. I think that is one of the best
That's so cool.
series.
And man,
like-
the animation on that stuff. Sometimes like they'll start a new episode, and I'll be like, I can't tell if this is real or all CGI.
there was one from the newest season where it seems like it's based off of like old folklore or something. There's like a girl dressed in gold dancing in a lake.
Yeah,
To kind of,
I think it was the last one.
Yeah,
of the, yeah.
She kind of
That was
enchants
insane.
or entrances or whatever.
Yeah.
The people, and that's how she kills them. Yeah. I legitimately I was so like my brain couldn't comprehend it.
Yeah.
I legitimately was like, I'm having like a glitch right now because I can't tell if this is real or not. Because like there'd be a lot of it where I was like, this is real and it's just been spiced up with some animation. And then I was like, oh wait, no, these things happening show me this is completely animated.
Yeah.
But then there'd still be things where I'm like,
You're like, that looks so real.
how
Yeah.
did they animate it this? Yeah, that one was insane.
And that's what's cool about that show is all the different styles you get to.
Yeah. It's very
in
fun
one
that there's so many
season.
different animation styles and
I wish there was more. I always just binge them like right away.
know.
Like, well, here's my night watching the whole season.
Yep, I instantly am just like,
Yeah.
all right, I took all those in. Now I have to wait for the rest of the year until they drop more or whatever it may be.
good.
So before we end up talking about the sci-fi world for the next 2 hours, I would love to dive a little bit back into like music stuff with you because that's been so much of like the basis of what we obviously built this off of like that battle with figuring out like what you wanted to do, and that of course that led us into the social media talk and all that sort of stuff. Like what did it feel like when you did initially go off kind of on your own? Was it like, this is maybe what should have happened, or finally I'm in control of everything and let's just like make it a go? Because like I also think I asked one question and I'm about to immediately trail us off into something else. But like from an outsider's perspective, I feel like the Vesperteen stuff, I don't know what this means, but like I feel like it worked. You know what I mean? Because like that's how I became aware of you. Like that's how I think I think I knew of Vesperteen, and I photographed you live. I think, did you open for like 21 Pilots or something at Schottenstein?
Yeah.
So I took photos that night.
Oh, nice.
And that was one of my initial like, oh, cool. Like I'm experiencing this new artist and blah, blah, blah. Like here's something I'd heard about, but now I'm experiencing it live, right?
That's cool.
So again, I say all that to say, like, to me as an outsider, I'm like, oh yeah, Vesperteen worked. Like it was a thing. You got to have all these cool experiences. You got to do these things. Did it feel like that? Like when you're, again, kind of a two-part question. When you're setting off into that venture, is it like, all right, cool, I'm doing this thing on my own, and oh wait, it's starting to pick up. Mm-hmm. Was there ever that like moment during that where it was like the stop and smell the roses moment, or was it just like I was go just doing the thing? Like
it was go for sure. Yeah, it was just I would agree that it just felt like it worked, and I felt proud, to be like recognized, as I think that's what any artist wants, is just that kind of validation of like, oh, people actually do. But there's the ever-present imposter syndrome of, oh, no, I don't know what I'm doing. Nobody really likes it. It's just a fad. And then so especially when it kind of plateaus or starts to, interest declines, and you're like, I was right. I really am a fraud. Like, I suck. I can't keep it up. Like, well, this great opportunity I had, and I couldn't even keep the momentum going or whatever. And so that's painful. That's hard to deal with. But yeah, for sure, it's out of all the things I've done, it felt the most like I'm writing and putting out exactly what I want to, and I like it, and I'm growing as a performer real fast, and it, I feel like I was or is a really entertaining performer, and people were latching on, and so it definitely felt right. Mm-hmm. Yeah. What
was like towards the end, and obviously we don't have to dive into like details or names or anything, but like what was the feeling like at the end of that kind of like that interaction with the label? Was it like a, you know what, I tried it and I'm fine getting away from it, or was it like, damn, was that like that was supposed to be the next big step?
Yeah.
And damn, it didn't work.
Yeah, there's a lot of those feelings that I've had, especially, doing Vesperteen, like working with other producers and writers, where it always right away felt like a little, I had some hesitancy, but anytime I had that gut feeling of like, this isn't right, this isn't how I would do it or how I would say it or write it or make it, there was always this voice like, but isn't that what it takes? Like, isn't that the thing you do to level up, and so, and I just didn't know. I was like, I don't know, I guess, maybe. I mean, these people have tons of hits. They surely know what they're doing. I should follow the lead a little bit. In hindsight, it feels like I should have maybe stuck to my guns a little more, but I never compromised enough that I never put out anything that I was like, I don't like this, but I think other people might, so I'm put it out. Mm-hmm. I never did that. I only put out music that I was 100% proud of, and felt like was a representation of me and what I wanted to put out there. With the label, there were kind of at the beginning, like I said a little bit, there was just kind of little insights, little miniature red flags of just like, oh, okay, I don't think that doesn't seem right, or even like the initial agreement was for 5 years, and I was like, no, definitely not. Like, I was like, I really want to do this. I want to try this out, but by try it out, I mean a year. So like, it's a year or nothing. And unfortunately, they were like, okay, sure. And right away, there just started being these kind of like, oh, okay, so you don't actually have that resource, or you don't actually care enough, or have the, it was a tricky arrangement of like my A&R guy interfacing between me and the label owner, and just trying to, he's like kind of trying to please two people, and he's telling me things that, he thinks he can do because they said he could do it. And so he's like, yeah, we can do this. And then they're like, no, you can't actually do that. And then he's like, yeah, sorry guys, you can't actually do that. Like, just one after another, stuff like that. But at least, I really approached it as, okay, cool, I just get to go, like I just got to live at the label house, like they just owned a house in the valley, and so I just got to live there for free. And I brought in most of the collaborators that I kind of knew and had contacts for, and then they brought in some, and yeah, probably wasn't the best way to kind of just sort of binge on songwriting. I think it works for some people. I don't think it works for me, where it's just like, all right, every day, noon to midnight, you're just working with a bunch of people you just met and you're going to make songs. And so doing that for like 3 months, 4 months out of the year was just like, just killed me. It really like extinguished my flame.
What do you feel like the most valuable lesson you learned, maybe even through your entire music career? What do you feel like is like the longest lasting thing that you've kind of kept onto or learned?
I think the most valuable thing would be to only release stuff that you're 100% proud of. Like I was just saying, like it did feel at the time like a chance to be like, again, like I said, I was pretty determined to make it just like I am the thing, I'm the product, which was also tough, to be the product. But I structured it that way. And so, I definitely have my relationship with control and just wanting things to be a certain way. And so kind of collaborating with new people, strangers, whatever, whoever it was, and not feeling like it gelled right away, was always frustrating and always confusing and just like, but is this what people do? I guess I should do it. And I can't... The collaborations and the maybe compromises or, bending this way or that to do something that I was unsure of, it was never anything, and when I'm saying this, it's all just like a lyric or a little arrangement thing. Stuff that might be imperceptible to most other people, but for me it was like, no, this is a big deal. I would not ever say, you're my queen, or whatever, like something, I'm like, that's not how I would say it. And so just, it was a good experience. Like, I feel like I learned how to collaborate, take things with a grain of salt, continue to advocate for my own convictions, what I thought was the right move to make or decision to do. So I think all that to say the valuable lesson is like, go with your gut, and like if something feels off, don't do it. The opposite of that can be true as well. Sometimes sticking to your guns, or was it Dave Chappelle? Did you ever watch the old Chappelle show?
A little bit, yeah.
I think it was that show. There was a skit about when keeping it real goes wrong. Okay. And somebody would be like, I'm just keeping it real, and then like something horrible would happen. They're like, he thought he was keeping it real. And everybody, And so there were several instances of that with my old band where like I said, we just had this kind of punk rock ethos, and probably missed out on some opportunities because of it.
Right.
Definitely did.
Yeah, it's always that balance, right? Of figuring out like, all right, trusting my gut, or I'm sticking to my guns, or I'm whatever it is, but also like, am I open to new experiences? Am I open to different things? Am I open? Like
because if you're too isolated and shut off and like, no, only I know what's right. Yeah, you're never gonna do much of anything. So yeah, you do have to be open. But I think when it comes down to like a some kind of decisive moment, is like, I get to make this call. I have to make sure that I am comfortable. That was the other thing when I keep kind of mentioning how I made a very conscious decision when I started Vesperteen to be like, I want it to be just me, because I want to make, and not in a like selfish control freak way, but I'm just like, I want the responsibility. If it works, it's because I did it. If it fails, I'll be like, I don't have anybody else to blame. Because I noticed that in my old band, because it was so collaborative and democratic. If something was not going right, I could be like, well, you're not fucking doing this. Like, I could always blame somebody else. And so I was kind of like, no, I want to like take that responsibility, for better or worse.
Right. What do you feel like the most difficult part of your entire journey has been up to this point? And this can be music or life. It doesn't matter. I'm not just like, oh man, when that one show canceled, like,
Yeah.
This can be anything.
I'm trying to decide how much to share. I think I'll go with music. I think, like I said just a minute ago, being a product is real difficult. When it's your face and your identity and your words and your thoughts and literally your life, and that relates to what we were talking about with social media is, there was a lot of talk when stuff like Facebook came around and artists were engaging with it. And then, you could see your favorite artist's picture of their breakfast or whatever, and you're like, or, just even more like behind the scenes stuff, which people have always wanted, like even in the 70s, there's like the making of Born to Run, like people wanted to see that. But it suddenly became like almost too voyeuristic and too intrusive into the lives of these artists that typically benefited from a facade and keeping some sort of mystery to them. And that was kind of being broken away from artists, and suddenly they had to be more like, this is me, look, here's my house and my kids, and so, and actually I played it really close to the chest when I started Vesperteen and never talked about like my family and never used any, like, I just didn't want it to feel too, I don't know, I just didn't want to feel that vulnerable, I guess, or just like, I don't want you in my life that much,
Yeah.
For better or worse. That was, a decision we made. And, but yeah, I think in saying, it was hard to be a product, I don't know how anyone is hearing that and processing it, but I know it could sound a little like, oh, you poor thing, you were, like.
But I don't know.
Why
though.
should I feel bad for
I don't know. I think I'm going to completely.
I think
agree
more
with you,
people
though.
understand now.
Yeah.
More than ever. Maybe because we see other people's lives and we see a celebrity have a meltdown and they just or they just disappear from the public view. And I think the general public is starting to be like, oh yeah, maybe that's too much. Maybe they really overextended themselves.
Right. Well, I also think it goes back to so much of what we talked about earlier in the episode is like the whole social media thing in general. It's like technically everyone kind of in a roundabout way becomes a little bit of a product.
Yeah.
Because it's like, are you posting the thing? Are you making the content? Are you blah, blah, blah. So I do think that stuff can resonate with anybody. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's like hearing you say is resonating with me right now. 'Cause I'm like, oh yeah, good reminder of like, yeah, when I'm getting caught up on like, did I post that piece of art that I made in the viral, trendy way? Because if I didn't, then I shouldn't have made it. It's like, no.
Yeah.
You don't have to create to make it a product. You don't have to be the product, especially when it comes to personal stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Like I actually love whenever there's like any level of fame or celebrity that I follow for anything, and they'll have a baby or something, and any photo that the baby's in or something like that, they don't show its face.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe that, like, somebody could be like, that's fucking weird. Like, they either don't post them, or if they are in them, they're like not focused with like, here's my baby's face, and I'm putting them on social media before they're even aware of what it is and all this sort of stuff.
Feels
I'm like
exploiting them.
Yeah, it's like
for attention.
I'm like, I love when, like, and I'm not saying it's good or bad either way.
Yeah.
But I can appreciate, like, yeah, you don't have to shed light on every single thing all the time.
Yeah, and so it was that sort of pressure that really, I think, kind of did me in ultimately, and just really turned me off and just made me so kind of cynical about it. And then, being even more critical of anyone that was attempting to just be like, you're disgusting, like really turned off to that kind of stuff. So yeah, I would say that was probably the hardest part in a very general way. There's lots of examples and details, but yeah, in a general way, just being like, yeah, and it's your livelihood, and it's your passion, and it's the thing you've always wanted to do. You know, like I was probably 11 years old when I was like, well, I know what I'm doing for the rest of my life, music. And, you know, I have. And I think it's rare that people find their thing, you know, that young. And so, yeah, it just makes it that much more of an identity, like a lifelong identity thing. And so when it kind of falls apart, there's definitely a sort of identity crisis.
Now, I know it's obviously less of an entertainment thing and you're not really performing, but like how does tattooing feel now? Like, is it like, this is a fun self-expression that I'm getting to lean into and connect with people over, blah, blah, blah. Like, or do you feel like you're carrying any of those things that you've experienced in the past into how you're now navigating the world of tattooing? Like,
yeah, inevitably. And I think for me, what was cool is that I started it during like the pandemic, and but you know, it was at a time when people started to be comfortable being around masked, and so after 6-8 months or a year, however long it was before that, I really realized how much, you know, I thrive on, you know, human interaction, which, you know, we all felt that, except the extreme introverts that were like, this is the best.
Right.
And so to have people start coming in to me, especially after years of touring and I'm the one going to everyone else, to be like, I'm going to stay right here and you come to me. Like, this is a fun little change of pace. And so, but then, yeah, just having those interactions with people, and a lot of them initially and now still are people that had been fans of Vesperteen, and so to get to have, it didn't feel anything like a meet and greet. Like, it wasn't that kind of, and thankfully, like, it felt so like pure and just cool and just like people hanging out. And you know, I'm just interested in people, and everybody has a story and, you know, something interesting about them. And so for me, it was just this cool, like, every night I just have some new person come in and we get to chat, and sometimes it's, you know, wild and unexpected, and sometimes it's mundane or whatever, but it's always just a cool little human interaction. And I think the thing that I do the carryover from music is the sort of instant response. So like if I'm playing a show or I put out a song, people are commenting, amazing song, it's so good, sounds great. Or if you're at a show, people are clapping and, you know, giving you that immediate feedback. And so it's the same with tattooing, where I'm like, hi, you're here, we're doing a thing, and they're like, it's great, it's cool, and then I post it and everybody's like, it's amazing, you know.
Yeah.
So having that sort of like, you know, it's I know myself well enough to just know that, yeah, I thrive on other people's admiration and approval, and I'm not ashamed of that. That's just how I'm built, I guess. So that's kind of I think that supplemented my, you know, lack of performing. Not like I'm performing when I'm tattooing, like we're just having a hang, but similar little things like that.
Right. Well, I also look forward to the eventual tattoo podcast that I hope does end up being formed. Yeah. Well, dude, before we wrap up, I have literally the last couple things for you. One thing that I have started to do on this show is to give the floor to the guest for a second and see if is there one big question that you would want to actually toss my way? Put me in the hot seat for a second. Does anything come to mind? Now's the opportunity.
Yeah, let's see. What is the most surprising thing about doing this podcast? What is something unexpected, an unexpected joy that you're like, I didn't know it would be like this, and I actually love it? Or is there one?
No, there definitely is, and I hope this answer makes sense. You know, like starting this show, like I sort of talked about earlier, it's like my hope is that people listen to it and they're like, oh wow, what a cool story from that cool person, and I feel like I know them or better or in general at all, and oh, that part of their story resonated with me because I felt the same way, blah blah blah. Like there was always sort of like that thing that I wanted the platform to become, right? Because like I wanted to start this because other shows did that for me, right? I heard other people's stories and I'm like, wait, this person experienced that thing that I also, wow. And like hearing them candidly talk about it, like it makes you feel less alone, right? A roundabout kind of like side thing from that has been a very cool result to see is like, I've gotten a solid handful of stories where guests have been like, hey, this friend of mine that I sort of lost contact with years ago, or this family member that I wasn't that close to, or this person in general that I had a bad relationship with, anything like that. This show has a handful of different times mended relationships with people.
That's cool.
Which is like a thing that I didn't really, I wasn't like,
you mean because they hear it?
Yes.
Okay.
Because like that person
shared it and then someone listened to it.
Yeah, the guest is always like, hey, I talk about my whole story and we talk about tons of stuff on this show. Like, check it out if you want. And then that person happens to go listen to it.
Yeah.
And then they're like, oh, I'm now like hearing kind of a conversation that maybe would have been good for us to have, of really getting to know this person.
Totally.
Their ups, their downs, their real thoughts and feelings and all that sort of stuff. Oh, now I feel like I actually know them better. And then it has literally spawned like conversations. Like my favorite one, obviously I'm not going to say names, but my favorite one is somebody I had on the show, and they had a very poor relationship with their mom. And it really affected them into, becoming an adult themselves and all that sort of stuff. And they shared a lot of that. They opened up about a lot of that and expressed a lot of that. And I'm not saying it like made a 180 or anything like that, but they told me what happened. Their mom reached out.
Wow.
And their mom apologized.
Wow.
And their mom was like, can we talk about this stuff? Can we sort of, and again, I'm not saying it became a perfect relationship, but it spawned the conversation.
Yeah.
It spawned a potential new layer of connection between literally a person and their parent that they did not have, so it's like
so cool.
Stuff like that has been the surprising kind of like, oh, I just hoped people would like the conversations in general and connect with them. That's awesome. I didn't know that it's cool to know that it can make that deeper connection. Yeah. Like past just like, oh, what a fun conversation. I relate to that person. Yeah. It's mended relationships.
That is the great thing about podcasts, and that's such a great answer. That's so cool. Yeah. But like, how if you listen to a podcast for a while and then you start to feel like the people that are on it, like the host 100%. Or whatever, you're just like, oh yeah, I feel like because it is so, like vulnerable and raw and real typically, like especially if it's conversational and you just get to know about this person and you start to feel like you kind of know them, and that's so cool. And that's really great. That's been the other thing over time too, is like a lot of people have like started like chatting to me about those sort of things. I'm like, man, I've learned so much about you through so many different episodes and blah blah blah. And I'm like, oh yeah, like like because we're talking about the guest life, but also of course I'm sharing so much in that process too, that like they're like, I listened to enough that like I know this thing about you, and I'm like, how do you know that? Like, oh yeah, I put it out on a show all the time and talk about it. That's great. Well, dude, I have one final question for you. Right. Is it the same one that you ask everybody? It's the same one that I ask everybody. Okay. I haven't listened to your podcast yet. Okay, so you're on. Okay, I don't know what's coming. Some people come in and they're like, I'm prepared. And I'm like, all right. Yeah, I end every episode of this with the exact same question. Okay. So now it's coming your way. I want you to right now pretend like everyone everywhere in the world can hear you speak through that microphone. We're tossing logic. You talk about AI and sci-fi futuristic things. Right now, that microphone is spread all around the world. It's being translated, whatever. It doesn't matter. Everyone can hear you and understand you. So you have a live mic attached to the entire world, and you get to share something with them. What are you leaving them with, and what would you want them to hear? Man, that's huge. That's a big one. Attention citizens tuning in to the global broadcast system. I feel like what I want my answer to be requires more exposition, more of a preface, but maybe I can still kind of say it without all that. I would say, I'm saying this because it's sort of my mode of operations now. It's just at the forefront of my being and my consciousness and my existence, is trying to enjoy life. I'm not saying this in a way that sounds like I could be actually saying it to the world. I'm saying it like in a podcast way. I just think that life is short, and I just think it needs to be enjoyed, whatever that looks like. And so I think the thing that I would say is just like, take advantage of that, take advantage of time. Like, everything's so short, you don't know what's going to happen at any given moment. And so do the things that make you happy, surround yourself with the people that you love, mend those broken relationships, or, if it's healthier, keep them cut off. But do the things, like, don't put stuff off. It all sounds very cliche, live today, but that's where I'm at right now, is very like, I don't know, we only get one of these, man. Better do what you want to do and at least try to have fun, make it worth it. Don't get sucked into cynicism and depression and just the easy traps of existence. Just do what you can to be aware of yourself, do the work to know yourself and know those closest to you, and it's great. I also would say, if you're thinking about having kids, definitely do it, because they're awesome.
I love it, dude. Colin, we just made a podcast, man.
Hell yeah, we did.
We finally sat down for the very first time to chat, and we made a podcast out of it. This just means, though, now we got to have like normal chats, though. We need some normal hangouts, too.
For sure.
Not just in the confines of a
We'll do
podcast.
it.
Unless, in a roundabout way, it's like, you came on my show. If you end up starting a show, I'll just come get tattooed, and then we'll only chat on podcasts.
You can totally be the first. Yeah. We'll just keep going back and forth.
That's just how it is.
Yeah.
We'll find somebody else with another show and be like, bring us both on at the same time. Hey, we really want to hang out. Could you have us on your podcast, please?
It's a way to do it, That's how it kind of is with tattooing sometimes. I'm like, I only see you when you come in to get tattooed. That's fine,
That tends to happen. Well, I will say, I'm going to make an effort for us to actually, like, in the real world, sit and chat and continue to get to know each other.
I'm down.
Dude, thank you so much for letting this be like the first time that we actually sit down.
I love it.
I really do appreciate it.
It's a fun way to do it.
We made a podcast, man.
Yay, thanks.
That's it. We did it. All right, another first-time hang session here on the show. Big shouts and thanks to Colin for being down to be on the show and have such a fun conversation. So if you want to keep up with Colin, maybe keep an eye out for any new tunes that he may make, or if you want to check out his tattoo work, maybe even contact him to get one, you can follow him at Vesperteen. And of course, if you want to check out his music in general, just search that name on any music platform and there it will be. So to keep up with the plugs and promotions here as we wrap things up, you know how this intro sequence goes by now. Follow the show. Follow it at WYDH Pod. That's on Instagram. There's a Twitter that I barely use. There's also a TikTok that I've been trying to use. So go check it out there as well. If you want to follow me personally, I'm at Who's Ross Tyson. If you really want to help out, though, and support the show a little further, there's a few ways that you can do that. First, by hitting the follow or subscribe button on whatever platform you're listening to this on. It would also be very cool if you did toss up a rating and a review for the show as well. Give us some stars. Leave a written review if you really liked what you heard. If you want to keep up with all these episodes in video form, both these full-length stories and the shorter topic-based 15-minute Fridays, you can do so by subscribing to my personal YouTube channel. That's youtube.com/Ross Tyson. That's where all of these can be found. That's where I house all the fun, creative stuff over there on my personal channel. So do all the things, feed the algorithm, tell somebody about it. Whatever you can do to help spread the word of this show and get these stories heard in whatever form, it truly helps out a lot more than what you may think that it does. So also, One last reminder before we say goodbye to check out this week's sponsors. First, our brand new one, Ingram Audio. They're aiming to make your process of making music more simple and streamlined, and they're doing it with a few of their products, such as the brand new one, the Producer Kit. So you can visit ingramaudio.co for purchase details and any other info that you need on that. Also, thanks to Makers Social, the DIY craft bar located in the Franklinton Arts District. You can visit makerscolumbus.com and enter WYDH in the notes of your checkout for $10 off your reservation. And of course, also to PromoWest Productions. They've been with us for like a full year now. That's so freaking sick. So shouts to them and all the shows they've got coming through Columbus. For more info on any of those, you can visit promowestlive.com. And finally, to Ope Cold Brew. It's dang good, and it's available in a 4-pack or in a subscription brought straight to your door. You can place an order or find any more info on that over at opecoldbrew.com. So there it is, another one in the book, 72 episodes of What You Don't Hear. Whether this is your first time checking it out, whether you've listened to like every single one, half of them, a little bit of them, whatever it may be, I cannot thank you enough. Thank you for listening. If you're on YouTube, for real, thanks for watching all of this. Thanks for looking. And of course, I hope you stick around for more because, as always, I'm going to be back next episode with a brand new guest that you may or may not know of, but I guarantee they'll be sharing a story that you've never heard.